Y'all, let's reflect. Why I failed at so many jobs. It took me 50 years to get the idea that maybe, actually, this is probably going to be one of my most relatable episodes, one of my most relatable videos, because so many people feel like we just bad at work. It took me 50 years to realize I'm really just in the wrong environments. So the message isn't just that I couldn't keep a job, but the feeling is that I thought I was failing, but I was actually searching for where I fit in and felt like I belonged. What's up, y'all? Typical stories, typical opinions. I am typically Toya, and you are my reflections. So pull up a chair and let the reflecting begin now. Before we get into it, we're going to start off with a mindful moment to sit up straight and take a deep breath in through the nose with me. Let it out. Release and relax the shoulders. If you ever felt like everybody in life was doing good and everybody was so far ahead and where they needed to be, everybody has it all together except you. This conversation is one you need to have with me right now. And I want you responding to me down in the comments. That's how I see you, reflections. That's how I hear you. And I need to hear you just as much as you need to hear me. So talk to me in the comments. Now, the reflection. Have you ever looked at your work history and thought it had something to do with the character that you are, the kind of person that you are? Why can't I seem to stay anywhere? Why can't I stay put? When I've known people to work jobs for 20 and 30 years, why couldn't I keep that kind of track record with employment? I know I thought about this a lot. And in my story, I know I probably held over 20, 25 jobs in my lifetime. In my latter years, I was able and lucky enough to not have to go to work so much, which is why I'm able to sit down here with you right now. I'm staying at home. I am still a mom, even though my children are growing older and older. I don't find myself in that needed gap so much. And I'm looking for ways to fill it. Like, should I go back to work? Oh, hell no. I don't know if it's time for all that. But I am reflecting on why did I feel like it was such a burden to be on the job? Was it the kind of jobs I was getting? Or was it just I wasn't fitting in into those types of environments? Tell me your story. I want to know. Am I the only one who felt like I might be just a little bit too lazy? I'm the only child in my family of my mother, my parents, that has not kept a job or held a job for a lengthy amount of time. I see my sisters do it. I saw my brother do it. And they all seem to have this charisma with their jobs. They stood out in their fields. And I commend them all for that. I speak very highly of my siblings. But I have never been able to stay on a job more than 2 years or a year at a time. I don't know. Maybe it's that rebellion in me that just didn't want to be told what to do. Maybe it was just that perfection in me. It felt like if I couldn't add my own personal touches and inputs to this program or to this system, it's not really that important to me. I don't know, but I was searching and I was leaving and I was getting hired easily because I speak so well and I'm communicating so well with them. And I've learned so many techniques on how to polish a resume and how to just get the job. The problem has never been getting the job. The problem is always loving the job. Every job taught me something, even the ones I hated. Girl, I had a job at a warehouse one time on Night Arnold Road. True story. And I wanted to be a manager so bad because this was a bilingual warehouse. And I think we were probably about 15 deep. It was probably about 15 Black people out of the entire warehouse. Maybe there were 500 to 600 employees, and they were all Hispanics. And I call myself knowing a little Spanish because my dad used to speak Spanish to us a lot. And so I told one of the supervisors to make me a supervisor. I wanted to make $12 an hour at the time. You know, that was a lot of money back then because I think the year was like 2002, maybe 2003. Well, to me, that was a better raise than $9 an hour. So I asked, can I be a supervisor? I know Spanish. I can speak to the majority. And the supervisors told me yes. They gave me a position as a manager. First, he asked me to say something in Spanish. And I said, Donde está el baño? Where is the bathroom? This young Hispanic supervisor made me a supervisor along with his supervisor, who was an older black gentleman. Well, they had their nerve to call me into the office one day and talk to me about something that was very important. Being that I was the only black supervisor that had been hired, I was the only female supervisor that had been hired. They needed me to make some changes with my wardrobe. These two men informed me as a supervisor I was not dressing sexy enough for work. I was young. I didn't know no better. I didn't act offended. And I just tried to compromise with them by saying that I would. Knowing good and well I didn't have any sexy clothes. I had 3 kids at the time. I had just got out the penitentiary. I was not trying to be a sexy girl, but I was just trying to get that money. So I did try to, make my look a little more feminine. But these are some of the most terrible jobs I have had to endure. And just lucky enough, my husband came along and he told me, you really don't have to go to work. After our first baby, he just basically said he didn't want his child in a daycare and he wanted me to stay at home because he has lost his little sister on a daycare van. She was left on a van, suffocated, and died at 2 years old. And that was a fate he did not want to face again. So he just flat out said, no child care. You can stay home, raise the baby. And I said, like a fool, I'm thinking, oh, I can go to work if I want to. I can take her. My mama will keep her. You know, trying to keep my foot in the door. But the more I stayed home, the more I realized, hey, you know what? This is not bad as it seems. It's better than being harassed by men that you do not know or care for. Jobs have slowed me down a lot. I remember getting a job at KFC after I was 6 months, I was about 6 months pregnant with my last baby. And I decided, you know what? We got this new place. We had a new house and stuff. So I said, I'm gonna get me a new job. And I know the girl down here, she gonna give me. I got this job and I'm in there working and I'm pregnant and I got a check. I think I worked 2 weeks and my first check was $309. I was so disappointed. And that's when I realized it's not just go get a job. It's go find something that's satisfying for you because this is not it. This is not it. Working a counter where every man come in have some personal to compliment you on, and it's just kind of creepy. And I felt like my husband was popping up checking on me, but I felt like he just didn't want to be that husband in this position where his wife is being told what to do by other men, and it put a whole cloud over this job thing for me. And I'm not against 9 to 5s. I know we need them and I know we need people in place for them. But everybody is not cut out to work a simple 9 to 5. And I feel like that's why I have failed at so many jobs trying to create a character, an avatar to get up early. This person goes in, she's friendly, she's positive, she's on time, she's productive, and continue to be this character for years and years. I'll do it. I take my hat off to y'all. Salute you all because it's definitely a daunting task. I know. So I give you credit where credit is due. If you're able to keep a job and succeed at this job, don't let it go. Be that person that can hold on and discover your talents in this place. You know, maybe your purpose doesn't require you to jump around from job to job. But I do know I have learned a lot. And I'm talking about entrepreneurship. I have learned a lot about content creation, about what I'm doing right here, right now with you. And I've learned a lot about designing and finding my own lane, so to speak. And I'm just reflecting with you. And I don't think that it was so much being a failure at the job, but it was more like preparation for my own lane. That's how I'm gonna look at it. I don't care what you say. So this episode has been so fun for me. It was so kind of like a relief and therapeutic for me to sit down and talk about this with you. But I want you to make some room for the humor in your life about this idea too. Because if y'all, come on now, y'all ever had a job where you had to sit in the parking lot before you go clock in, just convince yourself this is where you need to be. And you done felt what I'm feeling before. And if you done ever felt like on a Sunday evening, and every Sunday evening, you looking at the clock and you still negotiated in your mind if you're going to call off, if you're going to take a sick day on Monday. Tomorrow might be the day I do it, you know? And you know where I'm coming from. You learn that everybody's business is in the water, in the break room, everything going on in the break room, If you getting used to this and you getting tired, it's becoming redundant, you feel what I have felt before and you quit mentally, but physically you still there. Hey, I know how they feel too. So if you got a funny story from your job or from your work history, talk about it. Let's talk about it. Talk to me in the comments. I want to hear your funny story. And before I go, let me just leave you with this. If you don't take away anything else, here's what I hope you remember. Do not let one job, one boss, or one season convince you that you are a failure at it. Sometimes your greatest strength is realizing your lane, realizing you were meant to build in this place or that place and sticking to it. Not always just about punching that clock and getting that check, but reflecting on what's most important for your health and your mental stability. What's one job that taught you a lesson you'll never forget? I want to know. Talk to your girl. I'm inviting you to share your stories with me. Okay? I thought I failed at working a job, but I was truly preparing myself for this lane to sit right here with you. Okay? So thank you so much for joining me. I will see you next week, Reflections. Until then, keep reflecting and keep shining.